Everybody, I'm Jenn Chan. I'm the founder of Senior Shower Project. It's my startup, and it's all about celebrating caregivers at the party. And I was a caregiver for 10 years for my grandma, so caregiving is just in my soul. I started when I was in my early 20s. So I've been in it for a while, and I decided with all this passion I had from caregiving, I really wanted to start a business where I wanted to acknowledge and recognize and just really overall celebrate the caregiving soul. So I have a startup right now that's all about creating this party called the Senior Shower, which is party I made up. But I really believe that there should be a party for life milestones events, and that as we grow and say the circle of life from becoming a baby to getting married, I feel like towards the end, later stages of life, there should be a rite of passage party to celebrate new caregivers who want to take care of older adults. So hence I created a party called the Senior Shower, which is the opposite of a baby shower. Flip it, make it a senior shower, celebrate all the people who want to become caregivers for older adults in their family. As I'm developing the party, the senior shower, and all the fun party decor, I really wanted to start off my business with something really kind of like a small token, small gesture where I can still give shout outs or love notes to caregivers that are out there, because I know I'm not the only one that's an advocate or like really passionate about caregiving. So what I did is, as part of my first product line, I launched my own greeting card line. They're caregiver appreciation cards. I have an online store right now. You can check them out. They're kind of fun. They're kind of jazzy. They're yeah, they are. I think they're humorous, and they really hit the heart note. And I would check it out. Caregiver cards. Uh, One here I really want to promote right now is, since we're on the note of just being so excited about caregiving, is I hope you can see that. I don't know if it's flipped over, but it says caregiver cheer squad. Yes, you can, because I believe you can. I think we all can use a little pep, especially if it's a tough day. There's a lot going on. These cards really do make a difference. I started off making just 8 SKUs. Now I have 25. So check it out. They're unique. They're for all occasions. That's something that I'm doing. And in the near future, in addition to these cards, you will see senior shower party kits. That's something I'm really excited to share with each and every one of you, because I think all of you caregivers out there, you all deserve a party. Caregiving is truly the gift that keeps on giving. That's what really is magical to me about caregiving, because when I do something for somebody, I know that there's a trickle effect. There's or not trickle, but like a domino effect. I'm affecting another soul, and this person then may have a response of somewhat, and then it kind of comes back, or if not, they share that with other people. So I feel like it just keeps on going in my experience. So, and then I find it actually kind of, I would say, also feels really good, because I know that I had the capacity, I had the ability to give to someone, and it makes me feel like I've done some good in this world. And sometimes when I say once you start caregiving all the time, you feel like a caregiving pro. The rewarding part is maybe sometimes it's hard for somebody to ask for help, but you know their daily routines and you just get in the zone and provide. I've definitely heard from my grandma and other people, sometimes it's hard for them to ask for help because they feel like a burden. But once you know what the other person needs, you kind of take that burden piece out and say, hey, grandma, I love you. I'm here to give this to you. This is, I just want to make sure that you have everything you need to feel comfortable or to be happy. So no burden at all. I am here and happy to give. And then we can enjoy the moment together. So it's this give, receive circle. As a caregiver for my grandma, I do want to say that my family, I was fortunate to have a family that lived in the same area, probably within a 5 to 10 mile radius. So when I speak about caregiving, I always talk about my family, because we had enough aunties and uncles and cousins and my brothers and everybody. It was truly a team effort. My brother and I started taking care of our grandma as the primary caregiver, and her adult children were taking care of the other aspects, the paperwork, the administrative side, and also the financial aspects. So we had a team where everybody played on their strengths to really contribute to taking care of grandma. Really started in my early 20s with my brother. We noticed that grandma was physically just starting to lean on things a lot, uh, and uh, and then she had diabetes, so there was a certain point where her feet were getting swollen. She couldn't walk that much anymore, and then she needed to use a walker. And then as her body aged, she also had a couple pinched nerves, so she was not able to control her bowel movements. So there came the incontinence, the diapers, and then just a gradual progressive decline to her using a wheelchair. And caregiving did not happen overnight. I'm one of those caregivers who just started taking on responsibilities. I wouldn't say day by day, but they just kind of just started adding on. You do one thing here and another thing there. Next thing you know, you're doing 10 things or 15 things, whether it's washing clothes, transferring her from wheelchair to bed, taking her out for a walk. She really, really enjoyed gardening, taking her out to get some sun, get that essential vitamin D, but also doing the doctor's visits, the groceries, a lot of the activities of daily living. And again, those are kind of the day-to-day companionship aspects. The other parts of the family really help us, say the instrumental parts, where it was, say, managing the finances, coordinating doctor's appointments and other things like that. I really definitely saw, when I saw my grandma's becoming physically independent to becoming more dependent, that I pretty much just volunteered to be her companion. I did have a job when I was in my early 20s working in San Francisco, and it's about an hour drive down to San Jose, where we lived. And at some point, I just decided that I wasn't having a quality of life anymore. I was getting up really early in the morning to take the BART transportation, public transportation, all the way up to San Francisco. So this was by sunrise. And by the time I got back from working in the big city, I got home and grandma was already in bed, and I just ate the food that was left out on the counter. And I did that for months, and I just felt like I didn't get to spend quality time with my grandma. And she also started worrying about me traveling back and forth. So I just decided that, hey, her physical capabilities was changing, and I wasn't spending enough one-on-one time with her. I'm young enough, so let me quit my job and let me go be with her until she gets settled into her new condition, and then I'll get another job again. Maybe that was not the most wise decision at that point, but wise in the sense of I was choosing to give up my job after college, but I also put a lot of value in time with grandma and taking care of her. So I made the switch, and from there on, I just picked up side gigs, part-time jobs, so that when I wasn't caregiving, I'd get paid doing these other gigs. And during that process, when I said, hey, maybe I can come up with an idea, come up with something that can really address caregiving, that's fun, that's innovative, that can really shine a light on caregiving. Because the more I did it, the more I realized, wow, this is a lot of work. And we don't really, I haven't heard of any way of really celebrating the concept of, hey, I'm really going to take care of an older adult in my family now. So that's where I started brewing a lot of things. But as I said, caregiving just kind of reveals itself day by day, month by month, and year by year. Next thing you know, you're doing a whole bunch of things. So how did this all start? It just kind of started saying, hey, I want to be with grandma. And then 10 years or so later, I'm really happy I did it. All the way, grandma was here, and then we really fulfilled her wish of passing in her own home. So we went from the beginning to all the way to the last 2 months of hospice care at her house. So it was a definitely quite the experience. And it seems like a long time, but it also seems really fast. Like, oh, it was just like yesterday. I can still remember all the things. Happy to do it all over again. Really changes perspective on living life now. And in our generation, when you're able to see, take care of somebody with a kind of that depends on you for certain things, then you realize and you appreciate what you can do for yourself, and definitely have more compassion when you're asking for help from others or seeing that other people need help, and just always here to give. I always advocate, if you're caregiving right now or you're about to go into caregiving, that find what your self-care channels are. And self-care can come in many different ways. Outside of the startup I'm launching, I also facilitate uh, LGBTQ dementia family caregiver support group. And I got into that because I really believed in self-care and advocating caregivers, current caregivers, to not forget about themselves. There's a whole bunch of cliches where you can say, hey, you can't, you don't want your bucket to be empty, your cup to be empty because you can't give more. It's really, at these groups, we always kind of end the session and say, hey, just by showing up to this group right now is you already dedicating time to take care of yourself. And so just in order to take care of your loved one the way you would want to, make sure you give to yourself too, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of your loved ones. I had moments where I felt like I was taking on all the responsibilities. And that goes with work-life balance, because then I don't have my own personal time. I just stressed out taking care of all these things. So that was one of the most challenging things for me, to deal with my, just frustration and why aren't people helping out as much as they could. And then I can expand on that by saying I figured out how to channel that anger and really learn how to do some serious self-care, kind of channel that, feel the feelings, and then channel my anger and frustration into other things, which at that time was a lot of dancing. Kind of dance it all out. I really like to go to the clubs and dance to some really deep house music. So I would just gravitate towards the big speakers, the subwoofers, and feel the bass. So I would call it dance therapy. But it took a minute for me to figure out how to channel. Not even a minute. It took some trial and error to figure out what's the best way for me to channel my anger and frustration and let it all out, blow off some steam, and then come back and approach caregiving with, as you say, happy, positive attitude. Yeah, sometimes I find that I definitely learned over the course of the years that we all provide what we can, we do what we can, and my frustration was probably focusing on why people weren't stepping up as much. But I learned how to reframe that and said, let's focus on people's strengths. Let's focus on who can do what. Let's see what people are volunteering and signing up for, and then go with that instead of forcing somebody that may not want to be a caregiver and ask them to do things that they're uncomfortable with, because then that just doesn't help the situation. So I've definitely from that experience learned how to communicate, how to work with my family as a team, communicate better. So that it was, when you say what's the most challenging, they kind of all overlap. You have one thing and it kind of expands to other things. Because ultimately, it's really understanding caregiving. If you do have that team, everybody can help in their own way. And when I got frustrated that things weren't moving the way I would ideally want it to, that was in my head. So I have to communicate what I want, But did I have the communication skills at that point? Probably not, because I was really stressed out until I went dancing. Then after I went dancing, I came back, oh, I can speak clearly now. So I think everybody will probably find their own way of dealing with that when they hit that hurdle. I still go dancing. And self care can look in many ways. I say dancing a lot. There's also garden therapy. There's also just taking a walk with your friends so you can chat. Most people confuse sometimes, though. It's possible that doing more caregiving tasks, like taking care of that checklist, it's a self care list, but it's not. Really focus on one task that either can really help refill or reset you emotionally, physically, or mentally, or spiritually, or whatever that pillar is for you, to really make sure you kind of take a look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, what do I need to like fill up today or tomorrow? Because it's all about, to me, to be able to provide in your best self, you really need to look at your well-being and kind of maybe even just take a moment on, hey, what do I need to, I wouldn't say work on, but what would I need to kind of feel right now? Where am I at? Am I here? Am I there? Could it be here? Or is it down here? Okay, how do we bring it back up to here? One of the other big things is, I think, is about recalibrating. So sometimes when you're giving too much, maybe your levels are all kind of whoa. So if you can recalibrate to just kind of your baseline, that could be a goal, but your goal is whatever you make it to be. So self-care, however you want to do that, do it. You deserve it. Sometimes you don't know you're running on empty or running on zero, or maybe sometimes you're in negative. You have no idea. But it's just always to check in with yourself. Again, it can be emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, however you want to look at your overall well-being. You're important. I care about you.